Hello, Maverick traders, and welcome to today's currency recap. It is March 30th. Can't believe we're almost in April. This year is just flying by. All right, jumping into some market analysis. Stocks were up, gold was up, oil was up, crypto slightly down. Looks like all is well in the world as markets are putting the banking crisis in the rearview mirror. I'm personally very excited about gold. I think it's getting ready to break out in a big way. So I know we're doing a currency market recap here, but gold is one of the most interesting and exciting opportunities in the short term, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look at stocks. I'm going to echo what we said previously. Looks like we're likely to stay in a range here. I mean, we've been trading sideways since before the start of the new year. I don't see that really changing anytime soon. Ultimately, been beating this drum for a while. I think we still have more downside ahead of us. I would be so happy to be wrong on that front, but that is what my analysis tells me, both the macroeconomics and the technicals. Very similar story in the total world stock index here. It's pretty much the exact same range chart-wise as what we're looking at in the S&P 500. Taking a look at the crypto index. I think in the short term, we probably have scope to trade a little bit more sideways, but this looks like a great high base that's getting ready to break out, and it's as simple as that, in my opinion. My analysis tells me that the next upside breakout we get is going to be the final one before we get a larger pullback. All right, so just keep that in mind. In terms of the market outlook, we're range bound. We've got a 0. And then in terms of news, tomorrow there isn't too much on the economic calendar. We've got there is some inflationary data out of the US. PCE is what the Fed looks at. So this is an important piece of news that's coming out tomorrow morning. And in Canada, we have GDP results as well. Okay, taking a look now at some currency analysis. Crypto was down today slightly. But Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash kind of leading the losers of the pack here, if you will. I still like the idea of looking to buy Bitcoin on a dip. Same with Ethereum, frankly. I'm bullish for the next swing in both those cryptocurrencies. Over in the fiat currency side of things, the yen and the dollar were the biggest losers on the day. And on a relative basis, the New Zealand dollar, the pound, and the euro all outperformed quite strongly. Now, taking a look at velocity, here's a very interesting development. On the right-hand side here, there are two currencies I like. In terms of positive velocity, I really like the pound and I really like the New Zealand dollar. And as far as liability currencies go, I like the yen quite a bit here and perhaps the dollar to a slightly lesser extent. Okay, so with that said, we're going to take a look now at some possible trading opportunities. Okay, so first up, we've got the New Zealand dollar. We've been trading inside this descending wedge for quite some time, and I think we're getting ready to break out of it. We traded back into this gray support zone here. When I'm looking at momentum, we're just coiling here. The MACD is kind of flat, signaling that we could be getting ready for a breakout. I'd really like to see the New Zealand dollar bust out of this wedge, pull back, and stabilize into this area here. If we break through resistance, we'll see if we can test that area as valid support. And if it is, then that's what I'd be looking for higher in the Kiwi dollar. The other currency I like is the pound. We've broken out of this triangle, and I believe we've got quite a bit of upside to go. I think we're going to test the February highs from last year. So I'm definitely looking to be a buyer of the pound on dips. Currencies I don't like so much. Well, I think the yen has room to go lower. I think we're going to get back to the December lows here from 2022. So quite possibly another couple more weeks of yen weakness. That's kind of what I'm seeing. So I really like Kiwi yen, really like sterling yen to the upside. Aussie, stuck in no man's land. So long as we're in this box here, it's, the Aussie's going to be range bound. Now, with that said, the Aussie is on the lower end of that range. So if you're very short-term oriented and particularly nimble, you could look to see if the Aussie dollar looks bullish, relative to the yen perhaps, or relative to the US dollar even. But, this is not my play. I really prefer stronger trends. But if you are a short-term trader, we're at the bottom of the support range in the Aussie. So your risk basically is that the bottom falls out in the Aussie. Now, is that possible? Sure, it's possible. I don't have a strong opinion on that one way or the other. I'm leaving the Australian dollar alone until its directionality becomes a bit more clear. However, that being said, what's the definition of a trend? Well, you have swing points moving in concert. Here we've got a series of lower highs, and we have a series of lower lows. So, if you're looking just at the basic definition of a trend, you have to say the trend is down in the Australian dollar right now. Is that enough for me to play it? No, I really want to see if we can flesh out this range a little bit more and then see which way we're going to break. Canadian dollar, similar story. We traded back down into support. My downside target on the loonie has been met. I think we might trade back higher now into this range, and we'll have to see what happens from there. So I'm also leaving the Canadian dollar alone until we get to the upper end of that range. Okay, so those are really the currencies I'm most excited about. As far as the US dollar goes, we're trading in this wedge, but we rejected that resistance line quite strongly today. So I would expect another bounce lower to test the support line of this wedge. And then perhaps we can get ready to see a larger breakout. I do believe we have one more leg higher in the dollar, so I do think ultimately that this is a bull pullback. I think this was a strong trending move. We broke a series of prior pivot points. We broke this pivot point here specifically. So, I'm inclined to give the dollar a bit of a fighting chance here, provided the right setup materializes. Right now it hasn't. But, there you have it. That's what I'm looking for. Actually, let's take a look at Bitcoin, because I do think it is exciting. We've broken above this trend channel here, and we're just kind of going sideways right now. So if we get a strong breakout to the upside here, I'd be inclined to go with that break. And as far as targets go, I think reaching 32,000 is not out of the question, but there's going to be very stiff resistance if we trade that high. Okay, so pick your shots with Bitcoin. Be patient, and either buy it at the bottom end of that range, the lower end of that range if the right setup materializes. I'm not a range trader, so that's not what I'll be looking to do, but it's a viable strategy. I prefer to look for a solid breakout up here and then see if it's reasonable to go with that break. All right. So to wrap up, equities likely to remain range bound. Maybe in early summer, late spring, we're going to see a stronger directional push. But for now, this range has remained intact. I think the yen's likely to stay weak for at least a few more weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And as always, focus on quality, not on quantity. Focus on the currencies in play. Follow your trading plan as always, and ensure that you're sticking to proper position sizing, especially when volatility is elevated. All right, that's it for me, traders. Thank you very much. I will be seeing you guys next week. Take care.